a moment. How well would you hold up without seeing your loved ones for a week? What about a month? How about a year?
Well, that is a reality that many of our military families face every day. Recent research shows the top issue many of those couples face is the anxiety of separation and return of deployed service members. Another is leaving behind the spouse to take care of the children. And yet another is the emotional well-being, dealing with the stresses of extreme emotion.
Now, you may remember in June when we surprised Sabrina Metzger, only weeks from giving birth to her first child, with a Skype conversation with her husband, Sergeant First Class Patrick Metzger, who was deployed in Afghanistan.
Then in September, WBOC was on hand when the 115th Military Police Battalion and Sergeant Metzger returned home safely in Salisbury. Sergeant Metzger got to meet his newborn for the first time. We will never forget the image of a battle-hardened sergeant brought to tears by a little baby girl. So, where are they now? Well, WBOC's Aisha Khan joins us to tell us more about the story of this family reunited. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So, how long was he deployed in Afghanistan?
He was there for 10 months. You know, every time we watch that image, even for me, I want to cry. I think everyone in the newsroom was bawling when we were showing that video. So yeah, he'd been there for 10 long months.
Wow.
But he was able to see his daughter born.
He was actually through Skype. Minutes before she's getting ready to give birth, they set up the iPad. His niece was in the hospital with the wife, and so they made it happen. You know, where she's pushing out the baby, he's right there watching it live on Skype. So yeah. What an emotional moment. He talks about that in the story today too.
So he of course missed his family.
Of course.
But he said there was other things that he missed too.
Yeah, things you and I probably take for granted. You know, just being able to get in your car and go to the grocery store, or cutting grass. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't like to cut grass, but he did. He missed cutting grass and just being outside. You know, like I said, you know, you and I just get in our cars or just step outside to grab the newspaper. Things, right. Little things like that he missed.
We take for granted every day. Okay, so he has some time off before he actually goes back to his post with Maryland State Police. So what's he doing with that time?
Spending time with his little girl. Her name is Sydney. She's an adorable little thing. So, you know, for him, what he was telling me, that it was hard for him to make that connection with her because he wasn't there for the birth in person. So now what he's doing, look at her, look how adorable she is. And she is such a ham. I mean, looking at the camera, knowing the camera is on, but that's what he's doing. He's spending time with her, trying to bond with her as much as he can.
So tonight we learn more about the transition for him and learning to get back in touch with his family.
Exactly. I had to be a dad, waking up in the middle of the night when she's crying, changing diapers. Again, making that connection. You know, even when we were shooting this video, you know, he was having a hard time trying to hold her so she wouldn't cry, or, you know, and every 5 minutes he would give it to Sabrina. He's like, okay, you know, like, I'm still learning how to do all this thing. This daddy thing is very new to me. So you'll see that in the story tonight. Very emotional. And throughout the entire interview, I mean, Sabrina was just bawling, just crying and saying, you know, he wasn't there for the birth, but we're just so glad to have him home now. So,
well, Aisha, we're looking forward to seeing your story.
Yes.
Daddy's Home, of course, that's going to be on tonight on WBOC News at 11.
Okay, so while we are honoring our veterans today, did you know there's a new plane on display at the Air Mobility Command Museum in Dover? It's a big one, too.
Brian is on board with more. Brian?
Well, Jimmy and Lisa, believe it or not, they let me up on the flight deck of the C-5. You know, this aircraft is absolutely amazing, and it has so much history. We'll explain it to you when we come back. Plus, find out why this aircraft ended up here at the museum. Plus, we hear from a man who flew on the C-5 for more than 20 years. You don't want to miss it. You're watching Delmarva Life. We will be right back.